Hey gang, this is Ryan with the Chapel at Crosspoint. I hope and pray that everybody is doing well. I look forward to just giving you an update in regard to Renovation Network and some of the things that are going on. A couple of things that I just wanted to talk with you about early this week. First off, I know that there's an initiative that's been going on in a couple of different regions for Reno Network, and I just want to highlight it again. I had a great opportunity last week to spend a day with Jim Murphy here in Buffalo, New York. Jim's from Missio and Syracuse, and who would want to spend a day with Jim Murphy? That's the first question. But we had a great time, and during that time I had a chance to kind of go through the My Circle training at a greater level of understanding. And as this gets promoted in and throughout the network, I just wanted to encourage you all. There are a handful of places now that have taken Jim up on the initiative for the My Circle training. And what I wanted to do is kind of unpack just briefly a little bit that I think is important to know. Jim is, by gifting, an amazing evangelist. God has really gifted him with the ability to be very intentional with regard to being present and giving proclamation of the exclusivity of the gospel of Jesus Christ in the context that God has situated him in. And what he's done is he's taken just a number of thoughts that God has given him over the last couple of years, I believe, and he's really put those down, and he's put it in such a way, in a format, so that he can begin to train other churches and other identified evangelists within the context of churches that we partner with, basically to train them on what it is that he's observed and what he's learned over this time. And as I sat with Jim last week, it was really amazing to see God's gifting in him as he began to pour through the information and share it with me. I know that he's going to be spending some time in Western New York doing this. He's going to be spending time in Huntington, West Virginia doing this. He's going to be spending time, I believe, down in Fort Myers at Summit. And he's also going to be spending time in Houston doing this with, I believe, Clear Creek. And so as this, you may hear more about this, but I just want to encourage you, if you are looking for someone who I personally believe embodies the understanding of the outcomes that Dwight talks about, with regard to just the greater intentionality toward missional behavior and what it is that we need to do through the eyes of someone who has the gifting of evangelism, I would strongly encourage you to reach out to Jim. I've been very blessed to watch him present this information to me, and I believe that he can help churches that might want to get off to a better appreciation and development of their missional behavior. I've seen this personally in a lot of churches that I've connected with, where just the lack of intentional presence, intentional proclamation, intentional saturation and conversion, it's in a number of churches that we've looked at, it's just not been happening. And some of those churches have begun to reach out to Jim, and I would encourage you to do so as well if you haven't already. Second thing I just want to point out to you for this update is there is an initiative coming up in Western New York starting in the early part of next year. And I've actually attached a PDF file to this. But for those of you in Western New York, I've emailed a handful of you already, and we've already gotten a handful of responses. But last year we began an initiative that was actually a couple of years in process. God had been using Linda Penn, who is with our women's ministry, to lead an initiative here called Western New York Pray. And as that had taken off, some of our leadership here locally wondered what could happen if we began to partner with greater intentionality in this time of corporate prayer with other churches in Western New York. And so what we've decided to do is to reach out to a number of churches within Western New York, a number of different geographies, whether it's urban, suburban, rural. And we've just begun to ask these churches, would you go on the journey with us in partnering toward Western New York Pray? And so we've got a lot of work to continue to do over these next couple of months. But I want to ask you, if you're in Western New York and if you have an interest in this, we want to talk to you. And so I've attached this promo for Western New York Pray. Please take a look at it. If you're interested in it, we would love to have you involved in this process. There are 10 churches, I believe, already that have either tentatively said yes or they've put their yes on the table in Western New York. And so I would love it if you would prayerfully consider joining us in that. Springville Crossing, Eastern Hills, Wesleyan, City Church, Lockport Alliance, Lima, The Well, Akron Free Methodist, Destination Life, Bethel Baptist. These are a number of churches that are prayerfully considering or have already said yes to partnering with us in this initiative that is Western New York Pray. I'd be so honored and thankful if you would join us in that as we take that time in the early part of next year to be specifically focused and tethered to corporate prayer over Western New York. As I mentioned in prior context and emails, I understand that there is a rhythm of prayer already established in a number of different communities in Western New York, and I'm not assuming that that's not happening. And so please hear me when I say that. However, if you have an interest and you'd like to join us in this, we just want to see what God could do in this time. And so we'd love to have you be partnered with us. We will take it upon ourselves here at the chapel to be more in the communicative loop about this as people begin to say yes or no to this idea. But man, we would love to have you partner with us in this. That's all for today. God bless you, and I pray that you have a wonderful week. I look forward to keeping up with you here soon.